Why are comic book companies like Marvel and DC taking all my favorite characters and making them black or brown or gender swapping them or making them gay? Why are they doing this to my favorite characters? Do they not love me? Do they not care about my money?
Well, actually,
the reality is there's a really good reason for that. Let's talk about it.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple eyes. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
And because sometimes people don't understand sarcasm, I feel like at this point it probably should be obvious. I don't feel the way that I said I felt at the very beginning of this video was to kind of parrot some things that are said on the internet. And I think there is a very valid answer to that question. At the risk of giving you an excuse to click away from this video so early on, I'm going to tell you the short answer why. But I just want you to know that I promise to give you a more well thought, a more nuanced answer that goes further into it and really might help even you, someone who may feel the things that I said earlier in this video. You may genuinely feel those things. And I hope that if you stick around and hear out what I have to say, listen to the words I'm saying, not just wait for your opportunity to go run into the comments and reply, but make it through the entire video, and I promise you, I will have given you a nuanced answer with explanation and maybe changed your mind. The quick, easy answer to why Marvel and DC don't make new characters, but just take pre-existing characters and make them black or brown or female or gay or trans or whatever. The trans part isn't actually a thing that's, to my understanding, actually happened.
Well, actually,
Perfect.
Here's the reality of the matter. You're not buying the new characters. It's that simple. There's no greater detail than that, is that you're not buying the characters. When Marvel and DC create a new black or brown character or a new female character or a new gay character, you don't buy them. Look no further than characters like DC Comics' Sideways, Marvel's Mosaic. What was it? The Silencer, whatever her name was. She was a whole black woman. Nobody bought that book. When I say nobody bought that book, I mean no one was rushing out in droves. People weren't buying those books like that. You go over to Marvel, a lot of people would like to immediately shift their attention to the like Marvel Now and all new, all different Marvel era. But here's the thing, and I think we need to understand this, because I now want to get into the more nuanced portion of the conversation, is that if the easy answer is Marvel chooses to race swap and gender bend and homosexualize, I'm just making up words here at this point. I don't know if that's actually a word.
well, actually,
But if they are doing this, and it's because we're not buying them, then why are we not buying them? Well, okay, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. It could be because the book is bad, like the book in question might be bad, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they are, let's be honest. Hey, I'm your friend. Let's be honest with each other. Sometimes they're bad, but it could also just as likely be that you didn't know the book was a thing, which is often more likely the case. You didn't know that Sideways was a thing. Some of y'all probably heard the names Mosaic and Sideways and are probably thinking like,
Who?
And this is honestly a lot of the reason why people don't know about some of these characters. Marvel or DC in question didn't advertise the book for one reason or another, or they just kind of thought that, oh, well, we made a black or brown or female character, people will just buy it just because, or,
Man, we're Marvel or DC. We can just do whatever we want. People are just gonna run with it.
they don't just do this with new characters, they do this with pre-existing properties just the same. I would be the first person to not be surprised if you didn't know that certain books existed. I can't tell you how many times I encounter people who, when I talk to them about a specific book or I make a video about a specific book and they go, oh, I didn't even know this was a thing. It's because it wasn't advertised particularly well. Another reason, and this is sadly and too often the case, word of mouth kills the book. And that word of mouth often comes from comic chuds, your comics gate crowd, the grifters, the people out there who are giving you opinions that they probably don't even really truly believe themselves, all because they know that your hate and your vitriol fuels the algorithm in their direction. Some of you may be familiar with the guy Eric July, aka Young Ripper, who has very famously been on record for saying that he thinks Miles Morales is a dumb character, that he's too derivative of Peter Parker. He calls him Peter Darker and thinks that he's a whack character. He doesn't like him. He thinks he's bad. But also, before Eric July's channel really took off, he was also glazing up Miles Morales and talking about all the reasons that he wasn't a shitty character.
One of the more obvious is Miles Morales is Spider-Man. Now, most of these types of efforts are forced, corny, and lazy, but at least Miles Morales has his own background.
Morales has his own background.
This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy. But Miles is an exception, make no mistake.
Miles is an exception, make no mistake.
Miles is an exception, make no mistake.
But the moment he realized he could make money off getting people angry about that shit, he switched. Now you can't get him to say that Miles Morales is an interesting character because he knows his audience will turn on him. And people like that, they just make up an opinion and they let it spread like wildfire because that's how the world works. Bad news travels at the speed of light. Even Wally West, the actual fastest man alive, could not beat. But good news travels at the speed of rush hour traffic. Another reason imprints and publishers tend to not make new diverse characters, or quotey fingers new diverse characters, is because even if it was good, you're not going to buy it anyway. Like, I used to hang out in comic shops. This might surprise you. I used to hang out in these shops for hours on end at certain points in my life. And I can tell you how many times I've watched people complain that Marvel or DC doesn't do anything new, then bypass 10 different, depending on how big or wide the shelf was, 10 or 20 different titles that are brand new and different, all doing new things, many of them not being Marvel or DC. It might be something from Image Comics. It might be something from Boom. It might be something from Dark Horse. It might be something from Oni Press or Mad Cave or Dynamite. But I'll watch these people pass like 10 to 20 different, brand new, different titles, all doing the things that they claim that they want to see on comic shelves, and then they'll just pick up the same 12 separate issues of Batman that drop every fucking week. The reality is, you don't want new. You don't. You want familiar. And Marvel and DC both know this. Companies like Marvel and DC, even other companies, I would even go as far as say maybe an Image Comics, they may or may not do this, though Image is more largely focused on creator-owned properties. But like, I'll just say this, Marvel and DC specifically, they use focus groups.
We want you to tell us what you think and be honest, because no one from the show is here spying on you.
And market testing. As a matter of fact, I've been told on many a separate occasion by writers who work for both Marvel and DC, those are the people who usually dictate what books get greenlit, what books get marketed, whichever way they get marketed, and a lot of times can dictate whether a book runs for however long they want the book to run. I will also say sales also dictate this, and people putting things in their pull list also dictate this, but really focus groups and market testing is how they determine what books they want to put in front of you for you to determine what you want in your pull list. And I do want to remind people that, yeah, if you are one of those types who's like, man, I don't know why so-and-so book got canceled, but it's not in your pull list, I'm going to tell you right now, you're one of the reasons why that book got canceled. I'm not trying to be mean when I say that either. It's just, it's true. If you love a comic and you're like, oh man, I love this comic, I love to buy this comic, I go buy it every week, but it's not in your pull list, you are part of the problem. I used to work for GameStop for a long time, was even a manager of a store for a brief time, but I was an assistant manager for a very long time. And I can tell you, you know how you would go to a GameStop and you would want to buy something, and the person behind the counter would very likely be, oh man, what games are you looking forward to? What games? You want to pre-order a game?
You want to pre-order a game? You want to put $5 down on this game? You sure you get?
You know, they would always kind of spin at you like, oh man, this guarantees your copy. Well, here's the thing. Pre-orders at GameStop are bullshit. Yeah, I mean, there are some very select instances where, like, if you don't pre-order a game, you're probably not going to get it. But comics actually thrive on that. They actually thrive on pre-orders. It's why some of your favorite series get greenlit to run as long as they do. I always like to use Poison Ivy as an example, and I've actually gotten this on confirmation. I think Poison Ivy was only supposed to run like 10 or 12 issues at DC Comics. Poison Ivy is about to be on 40, if not just recently dropped its 40th issue by the time you see this video. It was not supposed to go that long. That's why I always tell people that books that are bad don't run for 50 issues. They don't even run for 25 issues. Matter of fact, by today's standards, considering that 5 to 10 issues can be considered an ongoing series, books that are bad often don't even make it past 5 or 10 issues. What was it? Avengers Incorporated series that Al Ewing did, which only ran for 5 issues. The book was canceled at 2 issues. So, I mean, yeah, bad books, people don't let those books hang around. I'll use Amazing Spider-Man as an example. Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man started at Amazing Spider-Man number 75. And this was about roughly around 2021. Then in 2022, they had the last issue of his run, which was Amazing Spider-Man number 93 before the relaunch. Now, they relaunched Amazing Spider-Man, and that ran for 60 issues. So he had 23 issues in a previous run, and then another 60 in a relaunch. No book, and no writer specifically gets that many issues if people aren't buying it. And it is a matter of public record that despite people were crashing out about that series, it was selling like gangbusters. So that's why I'm saying, when we're talking about a quality versus quantity, nobody's just letting bad books run that long. So that's why I'm saying, yes, when these books get canceled with black and brown and other like diverse characters, it's not always because they're bad. It can oftentimes be because it's not selling well too. But if you think that some of these books that do have diverse characters, like that nobody's buying them, like case in point, like a Miss Marvel or a Miles Morales Spider-Man, which these books are always selling very well to one degree or another, nobody lets that book go that far. Like right now, Miles Morales Spider-Man Volume 1, which started in 2019, ran until 2022 for 42 issues. And right now, currently, starting in 2023, it's about to be on issue 42, like 41, I think. Yeah, 41 came out very recently of the new relaunched version of Miles Morales. And that's before we even get into Miles Morales' other titles. I'll go back to a Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan. Not talking about Carol Danvers, I'm talking about Kamala Khan. Ms. Marvel's original series, which was technically Ms. Marvel Volume 3, that ran for 19 issues. And then because this was around the time we were kind of going through the whole Marvel Now, all new, all different Marvel shenanigans, that book ran from 2016 to 2019 on the relaunch for 38 issues. Not a mistake. No book makes it to 38, even back then, without selling well. You kind of see a pattern here, I hope. The funny thing about Miles Morales and Ms. Marvel is that they are both legacy characters. Now, I probably just introduced a new term here to you that you probably have never heard before. Because whenever I say legacy character to some people, they usually go like, huh? What is that? And the term is actually even caught on with chuds now, because they now finally have a somewhat of an understanding of the word, because they probably heard me or someone else bring it up. But a legacy character is someone, as you might imagine, they share a legacy with another character. Case in point, if you are familiar with the Jace Fox version of Batman. He is considered a legacy character because he is picking up the mantle of a pre-established superhero. We're gonna do a video about legacy characters, more in depth, but I really wanted to just touch on this particular aspect of it because it was more fresh in my head. But yes, that's a legacy character. But here's the thing, legacy characters are not always black and brown. I often like to point out that a lot of white characters are legacy characters and nobody has any problem with them. Barry Allen is not the original Flash. He's the second Flash. Jay Garrick is the original. Barry Allen is a legacy character. By proxy, so too is Wally West and Bart Allen and anyone else who will ever call themselves the Flash. They're a legacy character. I would even like to go as far as to point out that Hulk is not the original Hulk. Hulk is technically a legacy character. The original Incredible Hulk was a character by the name of Zimnu. And if you really want to get ugly about it, even Superman technically is a legacy character. There was another Superman like kind of in and around there. My whole point here is that no one is taking these characters and turning them to a new race to piss you off. I mean, yes, controversy does create cash, but sometimes that can backfire. But I want to make it clear, there are very rare instances where a character actually is turned black. Like, okay, I compiled some notes. So the whole turning black thing, Iron Man, Tony has never been black. Ironheart, as a matter of fact, did not even like the idea of being referred to as Iron Man. When it was suggested she call herself Iron Woman or Iron Girl, she balked at it. Steve Rogers has been a werewolf, never been black. Now, he has had a black replacement, a Sam Wilson or an Isaiah Bradley, but Steve Rogers himself, never been black. Batman, Bruce Wayne, never been black, though there are black Batmen characters. I mentioned Jace Fox earlier. Superman, well, yes, there are variants of him. Kal-El of the Prime Earth continuity is white and has always been white. Though apparently he did have the capacity to turn black, but Lois Lane was the only one who took advantage of that. Punisher, now, if you want to talk about Punisher, while there is an actual black character who goes by the name Punisher, or used to, Punisher is one of the only white main continuity characters in either Marvel or DC who ever actually was black at one point. I've talked about it before, and actually thinking about doing a more in-depth video of that. But yes, there was that one time that he turned himself black to go undercover, which is hilarious, and I highly recommend you read it if you know where to look. Here's the thing. If people actually went out and put their money where their mouth is, and I'm not just blaming the Chudses, I'm blaming regular normies like even you. If people went out and put their money where their mouth was and actually did the thing that they said that they want to do, like, oh, you always see people say, oh man, if so-and-so got a series, I'd be sat. I would go see it. I would support it with all my money. Well, guess what? You actually got to go do that. You got to go buy the book. You can't just expect a book to sell without you buying it and then sit there and wonder why you're not getting more of said book. That's not how this works. You have to buy the comic. You can't just wait for me or Rob or Dope or anybody else for that matter to tell you about the book, to spoon feed you the book. And you also can't really have an opinion on a book if you're not buying it. But to get us back to the black, brown, female, or gay character of it all, Marvel recognizes all these things that I've just told you. So why on earth would they make a comic they know no one's gonna buy? So of course they're gonna make you a black Spider-Man. So of course they're gonna make you a brown Miss Marvel. They're gonna make you a Mexican Ghost Rider. They're going to make you a Muslim Dr. Fate, because that is always gonna sell more than just some random character fresh off the street that you've never heard of before. You're way more likely to buy a known property. And honestly, the people who ignore new comics and new characters, they only have themselves to blame. That was really what this was all about. I apologize for kind of getting off the rails here for a bit, but we landed the plane eventually. Speaking of landing the plane, if you felt like you had a safe landing, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that way you don't miss out on more videos just like this one. Also, make sure you hit that like button too, because it really helps me out. There's a new height feature. If you're watching on mobile, please, I appreciate it if you use it. It really helps the channel out. And yeah, that's all I got. Peace.